I don't think it was until my 30s that I started to get excited about the idea that I could continue to grow and change, like that I didn't have to stay stagnant or stay where I was at. There were key people that played a role in developing this idea of learning and a kind of hunger for growth and development in me, but I really resisted it for a long time. I mean, I should shout out to my parents and my husband, who have always believed in me and always thought that I was a person who could continue to learn and do positive and important things with my learning. So they have been constant encouragements for sure. I had a teacher in college who was the head of our Greek department. I took a Greek class with him toward the end of my college career, and he asked if I was considering doing a master's degree, said I should do a master's, and I was like, no, that's ridiculous. So that was the end of that. But it stuck with me, and I thought that was really kind that he asked me about that. And then I got hired at Multnomah because an office manager position opened up, and I was just looking for a job in the Pacific Northwest. And I didn't know what a good situation I was getting myself into. And while I was at Multnomah working in that position, I had a boss that said, before he left, I want you to go get your master's so that you can work for me again someday. And then my next boss said, you really have to go get your master's degree. You're good at this field, and you can not do it if you don't want to, but you really need to go get it. It was a solid 8+ years between my undergrad and my master's degree. I had no interest in going back to school, and I know that lots of people have a much broader gap than that even, but if they go back for a master's. But I think that was an obstacle in myself. I just didn't see myself doing something that was in a specialized field. By the time I felt like I knew what I wanted to do, and that I wanted to actually pursue a master's in the field of education, because I felt like once I did a master's degree, I was kind of married to that field, So by the time I decided to do that, I had been married for 10 years. I was having babies, and life was full of family, and I worked full time. So another obstacle was just simply deciding to do a hard thing while I was in the middle of really busy life. And I would not have at all blamed myself for being like, oh, now's not a good time, because it wasn't. It wasn't a good time. But I felt like Holy Spirit inspired, this is the time, and so I had to embrace what I felt like God was telling me to do in the moment that he was telling me to do it in, when I knew it was a bad moment. Mental health became an obstacle for me. In the midst of all of that stress, I started dealing with anxiety that I'd never dealt with before. That wasn't a thing that had been a part of my journey. So I had to figure that out. That was a new reality that I was wrestling through as I was being a mom and being a wife and being an employee and being a student. What helped with a lot of those things, obviously the Lord, but then also just the community that I had, and I felt really fortunate to have a lot of people that were supporting me. Otherwise, I don't know that I would have made it past those obstacles. I realized at some point that a lot of what was triggering my anxiety was expectations, like the jobs that other people had given me and the jobs that I had given myself that I thought other people expected of me. And so my community, my husband in particular, but my whole community kind of helped come around me to be like, oh, here's things that you're expecting of yourself, or that we were expecting of you, that we're not going to expect anymore, and you don't have to expect anymore. And so obviously that was like a logistical weight off, and that was something logistical that changed. But it also for me was a very internal weight that was lifted, and I needed help to lift it. I wouldn't have been able to lift that on my own. So being able to tell myself, oh, this is not something that's being expected of me right now. Like, I don't have to worry about that. Someone else is going to do it. Made all the difference in the world to me. Also sleep made all the difference in the world to me. So there's that. Yeah. And now, so I think with my master's degree, I really struggled through that. And got a lot of community support, kind of came out of the anxiety thing, knowing how to mitigate it and how to deal with it better, knowing how to get sleep and knowing how to let go of some expectations. But then when I went back for my doctorate, my husband and two of my roommates, actually our two roommates, initiated a family meeting, and they got a whiteboard and they put Dr. Christie's Keep Alive plan on the top. And they and my husband and I listed all the things that I do in my life. And then they asked, what are the things you want to be doing? What are the things that only you can do or that you want to do? And we listed all of that. And then the three of them basically divided everything else up, and said, this is how you're going to stay alive. We're going to do all these other things, So it like brings me to tears thinking about it. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I'm doing. That community support is vital, and it's how we keep our sanity. We are not finite things that are bumping around on this planet with no purpose. We are made for specific reasons. We're made for engagement, and we're made for love, and Christ is in all of that. If we try to separate him or separate God from our work or from our interactions with other people, we've missed the heart of God.